there's power in taking a photograph. There's power in being an artist.
It's the Phoenix Film Revival Podcast.
We're back. Another episode of the Phoenix Film Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Yannicone, and I have with me my lovely wife, Stacy.
Hi, hi.
And we also have with us...
Rachel.
Yay, Rachel.
Yay, Rachel.
Yay. Well, welcome.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's so nice.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of, I was like, where did I meet Rachel? And I'm like, because I like, I've met you, but not like met you. Like, have you just been in the periphery in a few events, I think, that I've gone to? I think, I don't know. I don't know when it would have been.
I was trying to think as well on my way over here. I was like, could I really pinpoint the first meeting? Was it going to the workshop? Because I did I did a developing workshop with you guys.
That's right.
More than a year ago at this point now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the first time or because I'd already met a few other friends by then at a film walk for my very first time meeting other people in film.
Yeah.
And then I don't think you ever went to one of those, but maybe we met at an event for that together or during the workshop, or I can't pinpoint the one exact
Was I there
time
for the
either.
workshop?
I think so. I
yeah,
think
you
it was
would have been
both
there.
of
I would have
you.
been there.
Yeah.
I'm like face blind. So
Usually I'm
okay.
pretty good with remembering like exact moments.
Me too.
But I can't.
And that's why I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly when it was either, but
I think we connected through like Dino and also like the workshop that we had. So, but yeah, it's been a little while.
it has.
We haven't chatted in a while either. So
Yeah, not since you guys released your book, your first book.
I
That
know.
it's so fun. It was such a nice little event.
Yeah, that was.
we had a lot of
There
people
was
in
a
that
lot of
yard.
submissions
Yeah.
for that.
That was,
Yeah, it was packed.
our yard was packed. Yeah. Well, it was Grand Avenue Festival as well, which means there was some people that weren't even from, like, they were just street randoms that were
Yeah.
back there
Yeah.
too, which was really funny. But yeah, I remember, I'm like, man, it's really crowded back here.
Yeah, it was full
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, that was good though. That book was great. And it was great to have so many people that contributed to it. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you submitted some Polaroids for that one, right?
Yep. I did Polaroids for
Awesome.
that one.
Those were like round. I think those were round.
I think I had one black and white one that was a double exposure.
Okay.
And then I did one of, maybe this is the round one. I'm not sure, but it's a gentleman's back. Like, and it's kind of flexed and it's like a weird kind of crop detail shot of like neck back to like kind of mid back-ish range. And he's like flexing all his muscles.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the other one, but I did 3. I did the max amount. I remember that.
Yeah. Look, those were really good.
Thank you. I mean, they're some of my favorites. So
Awesome.
Yeah, that book was good. We're going to do it again this year. It's going to be fun. We'll change it up a little bit. We're going to do it in conjunction with Brill Gallery. So Andrew, who has Brill, which is over in the Garfield district, his gallery. So we're going to kind of work backward. We have to find the date that Andrew wants to do it, but we're going to have the zine, but we're also going to have a gallery show in conjunction with it. And we're going to have a juried process. So some of the people that submit get to be in the gallery show as well.
So it's everyone who wants to gets the zine.
Yep. Yeah.
And then there's an addition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we're getting Andrew on board because we think it'll probably be maybe January, maybe December. It's somewhere in there. It's like toward the end of the year, but we have to start working our way back on the dates because people need time. Because we want to give people some time and maybe think about it a little longer. Last year, like we got such a mix of like everything that came through. It was interesting to see, and I just want to give people as much notice as possible because now people kind of know what it is, and they'll be like, oh, maybe I'll work a little harder on some of my photos. We had such a combination of it went all the way from like super professional to like super random snapshot, but it all worked as a whole, which was really great to see that. So I'm super excited to do it this year, but then also have this little element of having an actual show and a gallery show for it. And
That's very cool.
It went much smoother than I was expecting as well. So I think this next one that we do will be even better. So I'm I'm excited for that.
When you surprise yourself with the logistics,
Yeah.
that's a nice surprise.
Oh yeah, I was like,
you
I
put
really
a lot of
hope-
time in those easy logistics, though.
Yeah, I think I
was-
probably put like 100 hours into the book, and I was like, okay, well, at least I know what to do next time, so it should be like super straightforward.
Yeah. You learn from your successes, not from
yes.
your mistakes.
Yes,
It's a
I'm
good,
like,
good place to be.
yeah, and I think we're in a good spot too, because I was like, oh man, I hope we don't like end up having to. I hope we like break even and not like end up having to pay
Charge
into
more.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, well, what do we do? So we actually landed in a really good spot. We were pretty much like break even.
Sick.
So I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, because we had to kind of guesstimate how much it would cost, because it's like you could do 1, 2, 3 images. So some people would do 1 image, some people would do 3, and then that changed the pages in the book, and then the
page
whole book
difference.
over like a
Yeah.
whole bunch of copies of the book. Then it changed the prices
But
on
then
that.
the more people who
Yeah.
submitted, the more copies of those photos across all those books. So it wasn't just,
Mm-hmm.
the 110th photographer would have had 110 pages, not just one page, essentially,
Yeah.
because it's spread across all of those books. So it's just,
Yeah.
it becomes more and more expensive in a way
Yeah.
for what you're charging to do it. So we were in a good spot. So
Yeah, we
That's
were just
good.
like, just break even. Unless we break even.
yeah.
We still have to get one book too. The guy from Lithuania hasn't gotten his book yet.
Yeah, I was so bummed. I sent it and then it got rejected. It got sent back to us.
And it took forever for the process of sending and rejecting and getting back to us.
Of
that
course.
that book has literally been across like the world and back. So
So this time I'm doing FedEx for that one.
we're trying it again. We're gonna
US
get it
Postal
to
Service
you.
didn't want to do it.
if you listen to our podcast, I forget his name, but
Arnus.
Arnas, we will totally get that to you. I swear. Eventually it will make it.
Yeah.
Maybe by the time the next one comes out.
Yeah. Get 2 books.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. So are you from Phoenix originally, or are you a from other places person?
I'm from a lot of other places person. Bopped around a lot growing up. My dad had different jobs.
Yeah.
Born in California, then Indiana, then Pennsylvania,
Hey, PA.
and then moved to Arizona in 5th grade. So been here the longest.
Okay.
Went through high school and then went to Southern California for college. And then I lived in Thailand for a year. And then I lived in Chicago for 2 years. And I came back in 2018 and I've been here since then.
Okay.
And 2018 is actually the first year that I picked up my old Canon Rebel T5i Costco pack for the
Nice.
first time and decided I wanted to learn how to shoot in manual. So
Nice.
it's my first time ever getting into photography. It's 2018.
That's
Nice.
awesome. Yeah.
A bounce arounder. I'm one of those people. I've been a little bit of everywhere. Where were you at in Pennsylvania? I only ask because I'm from there.
It's a little town called Level Green, and I'm told it's, I think, an hour east of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I think that's what my mom said. I was only there for a short time, and
Yeah.
I knew my house as the red door and the green or the blue windows because it had blue shutters on it.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, that's middle of nowhere, PA.
Yeah.
I don't get out
That's
much.
on near Falling Water, though. Like that kind of distance from Pittsburgh. Like
Mhm.
Frank Lloyd Wright out there. But yeah.
I'm born and raised here. I haven't left yet.
I like Arizona.
Yeah.
For real. I really do enjoy it here.
Even the heat. The heat is upon us now. It's
Yeah.
finally hit. Although it's a weird week because we started in the 70s and now we're in the
Mhm.
100. So it's spring. I guess.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? Yeah. We don't know if we're gonna stay forever. I mean, we're concerned about like what's Phoenix look like in 20 years? Like that's a
Yeah.
question that we've had. It's like that can't be good, right? Because it's just getting hotter and hotter. And
It's so true. I was going to say I'm a lizard, but I think even lizards wouldn't be able to survive after a certain point. So it is a good call.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes, but I don't know. It's a little scary. So just to kind of introduce people to what you do, it's a little bit of everything, I would say. You kind of cover a lot of stuff. You do, so you're a photographer professionally, correct?
Yes.
And then you do makeup work.
Mm-hmm.
You do hairstyling.
I've done a little,
little
bit,
bit.
for my personal projects, but I'm not certified or licensed, so don't quote me on it.
A little modeling, a little
Yeah.
educating.
Mm-hmm.
Got a little bit
Oh
of
my
everything
gosh, that's right.
going
I do
on.
all those things. Thanks for reminding me, Stacey. Yeah, so I think my main thing is photography, which I think has been surprising for me because when I was younger, I actually think the first thing I got started in was theater. little church plays and all the little talent shows at school. And then I didn't stop being in them all through high school. But when I was 14, I got stopped. Maybe I was younger than that. I got stopped at a mall by someone that was like, you should do modeling. And I was like, that's weird. I was in like overalls with braids. It was very whatever. And we kind of looked into it. We were like, maybe not. But then I kind of got like more into it. So I started with modeling was like my first real creative endeavors when I was younger. And I think a lot of my interests in what I enjoy taking pictures of and what I enjoy creating kind of stems a little bit from that part of my life. I would say that I'm lucky that I didn't get like negative self-image from that time. I know that can happen to a lot of young gals who do that when they're very, soft-minded still.
Yeah.
But generally it was a good experience for me. I kind of knew what I wanted and what I didn't want to do, and was easy enough to say no to stuff. But I stopped doing that when I went to college because I wanted to be more serious about school, because I am not good at school. I never was good at school. And then when I was modeling, when I came back after that, I would always say things like, oh, never catch me with a camera. Never. Like, I was like, I'm interested in other types of art, but I don't know. That's just not for me. And I didn't have any real reason why. Maybe it was because when I asked for a camera years and years and years ago, and I got that little Canon Rebel kit, I tried using it on automatic and I was like, this is not what I want. And I like didn't have the patience at that point to sit down and teach myself something new. And I didn't want to take a class either, because it's like, who wants more school?
Right.
So I just kind of ditched it off to the side, and I was like, yeah, no, I thought I could do this, and obviously I can't. And then after I kind of fizzled down with modeling a little bit, I decided to get into makeup because I was around it all the time. And I thought when I got my makeup done, I wasn't usually super happy with how it would happen. And a lot of other gals would also be like, oh my gosh, I hate my makeup. So I was like, I'm going to be a makeup artist that knows how to color match, and I'm not stabbing people's eyes out. So it was a little bit of an easier transition in, since I already knew a lot of models and photographers. So that was kind of a lead in. And I did makeup. I pursued it pretty seriously. And when I was living in Chicago, it was something that I did a lot more of, and started doing it commercially and for little short films, and was on some apps and some services and stuff. And so I was really kind of dived into the makeup and that whole thing, and kind of getting somewhere good. And then got the news that I was going to have to move back to Arizona. And so while I was living in Chicago, I was emailing agencies and potential opportunities for makeup, representation, jobs, like anything. And I just kept getting like either no responses or rejections from stuff. Because Arizona's not a major creative hub.
No.
So like the number of creative jobs I think are generally more limited than our direct next door neighbor, LA. Other places, even though we have a really great budding creative community, I would say.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So found out I was going to have to move back, got my last rejection letter, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to start all over again. Because it's like, I started it in Arizona, moved to Chicago, had to start over in Chicago. Then I was going to move back to Arizona and not have anything again. And I feel like every creative person who's pursuing some form of work or professional qualities in their work has experienced that, like, maybe consideration of, do I really want to move? Because I'm going to have to start all over, because a lot of it is really who you know or the connections you've made with people. And it's like, I don't know, you want to be able to trust the person that you do creative projects with. And that comes with knowing people and having word of mouth and all those things. It's just such a social type of business area, I guess. So I was so nervous about it. But when I moved back, I was like, I don't know any photographers. I need to continue building my portfolio, even if no one wants to hire me yet. And so I started teaching myself how to take pictures, photograph to showcase my makeup so that people would want to work with me to hire me for makeup. That's literally why I learned how to take photos. And I started on my sister. A lot of my first photo shoots are of my sister. Shout out Tess. Yeah, she's a real one. She let me do makeup and then dupe photos, and sometimes they would be so bad. The coloring, the editing. Oh my gosh, I really should showcase some of my early work, you know. It's always such a joy to see the progress. But yeah, I started getting into it specifically to show my makeup the way I wanted it to be shown. I mean, it's not that I don't trust other people, but I think there's times in that profession, like in my makeup artist hat, where if I get photos back and I did a pink look on someone with a pink eyeshadow and stuff, and then you like skewed the colors for artistic edge, and now all of a sudden it's like orange. I'm like, well, that's not my work and I can't use it in my portfolio anymore. So I was just trying to like avoid, I guess, wasting my time or being let down by something. So I was like, let me just do it myself. And I think that's probably a reason why I've developed so many skills. I'm like, well, let me just do that myself. Yeah. Let me just figure this out real fast. But yeah, it developed from there. And now makeup is a little bit more, I guess, I think one of my least involved things I'm doing right now. It's, yeah. I mean, I still get some inquiries sometimes about it, but I was thinking the other day, I wouldn't be sad if maybe that dropped off for me. And that's like, okay. But it's like, I have all this makeup. What am I going to do with it? So all my friends will just do your makeup from now on. So I guess photography is my main thing. And I love it so much more than I thought I would. And I truly thought, and I think this goes for, I knew I was going to be into the highly produced look of photography. If I was going to get into it, I love Miley Cyrus, and I love the photo shoots that she's done her whole life. Always like, you know, super studio, super stylized hair, makeup set, just like the whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that. So I knew that's like the kind of style of work that I wanted to do. But it was also a little bit daunting because then that meant I would have to like learn a lot of technical skills. And like, I knew that lighting was going to be a really difficult hurdle to like learn. And it would be a massive learning curve. And I would have to really want to do it, because if I don't want to do something, it's over. My brain, I'm so ADHD. So if I'm not interested, I can't make myself do it for the most part, you know, unless I'm going to like let someone down. Right. But other than that, I just fell in love with it. And I now love a lot of the technical aspects of it. And I wouldn't say it's technical in like terminology wise, but I love learning, I guess, different techniques and like the technical side of things, and like, how can I utilize this thing to do this other thing that I needed to do? Or how can I shape this light in this way? And it feels technical still because I have to know all about its equipment and how I can use it and functionality and all of these other things. But at the same time, it feels very creative. And I was actually dreading a little bit, like right before I packed up to came over, I was like, uh-oh, what if they ask me like who my favorite photographers are, or like, who's your inspiration? I was like, I should have asked, or I should have thought about that, because I find it really difficult to pull names off the top of my head. But more than that, I mean, I'm inspired by my friends' work more than I think anything else. But generally what drives me to create is not looking at other people's photography.
I get that.
What drives me to create more so is like, I wonder if I can do this, or like, I wonder if I could achieve this if I tried that, and that, or I don't know. It's just more like mad scientist ideas that I like have to do. And that's kind of what drives me more and what inspires me to like make things. And I think photography in conjunction with lighting kind of gives me that like, and add this, and now we're gonna add that, and like,
Bam.
Yeah, you can control your creativity like so much more in a studio style environment. We know a lot of people that are, like street photographers, which is really hard because you have to just basically wait for that moment to hit you. Like you can be shooting all day long and never get a shot that's really interesting and kind of boring. And then you have to just kind of wait for those things to happen, especially here. I mean, it's not like we live in New York, there's like just so much going on all the time. So it's like you have to, you've controlled it. You're making your own. You're like, nope,
and I don't think I could do the sit around and wait for it. Ooh, that would be tough for me. So kudos to anyone who does that. For real.
Natural lighting was like a big thing. And I was over in the other direction. I was like, studio lighting. I love the control. I'm so particular. So, it's just, I don't know, completely different mindset to be in to do natural versus studio. You have so much more control with studio. Yeah. And that the thought of, other photographers, you're like, that is such a normal response, actually.
Really? I was so nervous.
Yeah, no.
People ask me all the time, and I'm
like that.
I don't know.
No, that's actually constant. We've talked with so many people, and that's a very common thread. Like,
but I respect so many artists. But it's not like, oh, I want to be just like X, Y, Z. And I don't.
I think the people that are really out there, really truly doing it, they're just so focused on their own thing that they really don't think about other people in the same way. And the folks that dream but don't do are the ones that really kind of obsess with that, like the kids that watch like the YouTubes, and like the YouTubes, that sounded very old and the YouTubes, but the kids that are just sitting there on their couch and being like, I'd be a photographer someday, and they just have this weird parasocial thing going on with like favorite photographers and artists, but they don't actually ever make any kind of steps, be it their own fault or be it just circumstances that they can't. But people that are truly out there, like they're just like, well, that's good. And then also there's I always say with the podcast, like I don't listen to other photography podcasts, and that's sort of on purpose, because I don't want to start comparing myself to somebody else or thinking, oh, we should do it like that. And then I feel like I'm copying it. And I just want everything to be like what we're doing, not what someone else is doing. And I feel like something will just sort of mess with that a little bit. And I'd rather just keep it pure.
That's exactly how I feel about stuff. And other people's work, I love to see for like, what are the limits? Like who's doing what? Like, that's crazy. Like, just like, I think what inspires me most about other people's work is seeing like bigger, grander, like on unreal set designs. I was like, dang, I want to do something that big one day. Yeah. And I'm not serious to sit and think, I want to recreate that. And it's like, no, like I aspire to do things that big. And so I think that's one thing I love about seeing other people's art is like knowing like, oh, you can be that good at something. Okay.
Yeah.
It's always inspiring because you're like, man, you can, some people really just keep leveling up just over and over again. You're like, that's amazing. Okay.
And there was a photographer that I saw that was doing like these insane, just like so elaborate, like set design. He had these models and these like huge, like I want to say like dresses that were like, I don't know, like 14, 15 feet tall. And like had them up, like standing on a ladder in this dress, and had like this huge elaborate like room, and just so many parts and pieces. He had like fog, and I don't even know how many lights that this person used, but I'm like, you did all this for a photo, like, but it's like you achieved this, and it's like it's not just photoshopped together. It's not just pieced together, or in a lot of terms now, like AI essentially. So it's like it went through the effort in like achieving this, which means you're trying to convey something and putting that into your work. So
yeah. Very cool. So it sounds like you've sort of been professional from the jump. Like you were just like, I'm going to do this as a profession. Is that the case?
With the photos?
Yeah.
I think at first I was just like, well, I'll just have this be like a hobby. I'm just doing it to promote my makeup stuff. And then people started asking me to take their pictures. But I never, this sounds bad. I never had to go through a family portraits phase early on. Do you know what I mean? Like I did wedding makeup, so I can say I did wedding makeup for a long time.
Yeah.
So I served my time there, but I didn't, with my photography, I think I realized very quickly if I wanted to do things professionally that I would be focusing solely on work that I would want to be doing in the future and not stuff that would just get me paid, put photos in my portfolio and keep me busy. And I was like, I'm willing to work office jobs and like boring other stuff while I build what I want to be photographing. Like if I'm going to take this seriously, I can't deviate because I feel like in the makeup world, once you start doing one thing, it's like you always get hired for that thing. And I was like applying that logic to photography. If I don't want to be doing these things in the future, I need to not be doing them early on, even if it's for practice. Or if I do, I'm not going to like share it or whatever.
Right.
And I think that's probably something that's worked, I guess, the most in my favor from the decisions I've made, kind of where I started from a professional, air quotes, professional mindset early on when I didn't even really know what a professional photographer would even look like. Like I wouldn't even know what I wanted. I was like, I like taking pictures of people. So maybe something with people, but the mouth is so wide on that. So it's like, okay, you could take pictures of people in so many different aspects, but I knew it probably wasn't going to be sports. I knew it probably wasn't going to be street photography. It probably wasn't going to be a lot of these other things. So I was like, all right, let me think about what I enjoy, what I want to make. And so I think I realized pretty quick that I wanted to do lighting, and I did purchase from very early on really cheap set of, like, I think they were Godox lights. They were like $150 for 2 strobe heads, 2 stands, an air remote, and something else. Amazon special.
Oh yeah.
And I think it even came with 2 little soft boxes.
Nice.
And I actually set up a very temporary studio in my parents' living room. I was living with my parents at the time. And what was that? In 2018, I would have been 28, I think. So I was living with my parents. Just gone through a breakup. Needed to move out. Started doing photos in my parents' living room with strobes for the first time ever. I knew nothing about it. And I mean, if you work with strobes, I started trying to do shutter speeds of like 1/300th, 1/400th. And I was like, what is this black bar?
Black.
Yeah, what is this? And like, I used it creatively for a little bit, but I was like, I don't understand why that's not working. Move on. So it's like, I was very just like, didn't look up YouTube videos, just kind of wanted to develop my learning from just trial and error. I tend to want to not listen to instructions. So I'd rather just fiddle around with something and figure it out on my own, and then realize a lot later that I'm using this piece of equipment fundamentally wrong. And so now I do take instruction on things, especially when it comes to safety on set and things like that. And I'm reading, books about grip equipment, and so I can learn all the technical names so I can be a good communicator on set and all those things. But at the time, I was still a little hesitant to like take tips from anyone. I was like, I don't know if I want your tips, because like everything that you learn from like a creative perspective has like someone's lean or like someone's opinion on it, like their version of it. And like so few things in photography and lighting are just like cut and dry. This is this. It's like your on and off switch. Okay, yeah, but it's different on every single light. And sometimes you have to hold the button on this light. And so it's like, you can't take it from everyone, and then like how to use something, or like even the functionality of your camera and what settings you use on there. That's all so personal, I think. And it's always been easier for me to try and just finagle whatever on my own first, and then go back and be like, why isn't this specific thing working? And then figure that out and then move on from there. But I think in terms of going professional, I wasn't able to do that with photography until I'd say really recently. Like in the last like year and a half, 2 years. So it's been new in terms of like the professional aspect of it. But early on, I think I can't treat hobbies like just hobbies. I'm sure that makes sense as well.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like I always treat a hobby as if it could become a professional thing to me. So it's like how would I want to approach this the right way? And there's no right way, but you know, right way for me. And so I think before I even realized that I wanted to move forward with photography as any type of business, I probably treated it a lot more serious, just the way I learn and absorb information and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So you're sort of prepping yourself and you were kind of ready to go when it happened and you weren't like catching up. I think there's a lot of people who are like, all right, I'm going to do this. And then they have to learn a whole bunch of stuff real quick because they didn't really like think of all this stuff until they got there.
Oh, so. I feel like I do that anyways. There's
I mean, you're
something.
probably going to do that anyway. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good.
It makes sense to kind of lead with intent. Like you go with a direction of, I know what I want and this, I'm going to get it and I'm going to get it the way I need it. And, you know, might stumble a little bit, but then you'll eventually figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of people don't know what they want and they don't have a place where they come from. They just, they see other people's work and they go, I like their style, but I want to make my own, but then they don't find themselves. Like they can never find themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of fall into it more so than make a path for themselves to be in it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, why does my stuff not look like their stuff? It's like
it could never.
Because it's your stuff.
Not as not as like a hit. Like it could never because that you're not them and they're not you. So what you make will never be what this person makes.
Right.
Yeah. I see stuff like that all the time, like on a Reddit, especially on the photography boards. They're like, how do they get this look? What kind of camera did they use? What was the film that they used? And they want like a whole breakdown just by posting a photo because they want to recreate exactly what that other person had done, which is really funny. They almost want like, give me the recipe. I just want the recipe. I don't want to actually figure this out myself. Just tell me how to do it. And which is sort of I just need the
filter. I just need the filter.
I understand wanting to understand like what's going on in a photo, and that's definitely not what's happening in that situation you just mentioned. But I think the other thing is like, even though you would say like, you know, going with intention, I would say that I was pretty clueless on what exactly I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to maybe pursue this now. And I think the thing that people think is like, oh, I get feedback where it's like, Rachel, you seem so confident and you seem like you know exactly what you want. And I'm like, I do not know exactly what I want. And the reason for that is I like to stay open to opportunities that I could like, even if I don't know what they are yet, or I'm not actively pursuing them. So I do agree that it is with intention, but I don't ever have specific goals with my work, or I guess with my business part of my work, my photography. I don't have like, oh, I want to be featured on the cover of this magazine, or, I want to work with this dream client. And it's like, okay, what if I don't even want that job when I get it? I thought I would want it, and all of a sudden it's terrible. And maybe that's me worrying about the future. But I guess I live more with the mindset of like, I do things intentionally, so they're up to my standards. I think of like what I feel comfortable putting out and saying, this is what I make. But outside of that, I kind of avoid really firm goals that have to do with like specifics. Like I stay away from those, and I really enjoy seeing what types of opportunities come up and then considering if they align with the things that make this specific job interesting and worthwhile to me. So it's like I do commercial work right now with some restaurants. Food, products. I was like, I'm going to be a people photographer. And yeah, there's models in those shots, but like it's very fulfilling for me and I am loving it. And if I would have been like, I'm exclusively pursuing portraits, portrait photographer, that's all I do. It's like, would I have been open to this? Or it's like, I just don't like thinking of the possibility of putting blinders on to different types of things that I maybe wouldn't pick out for myself. And so that's like a really big thing of how I make decisions as well. As I don't really make a lot of decisions. I mean, I decide if something is for me or not.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a really big learning experience. But for the most part, it's been good to me. And I've talked to a few other creatives who feel the same way about goals. But I know it always was very concerning to my father when he would say, Rachel, what do you want to do? Before when I was going to college. And I would say, I know for a fact that there's a job out there that I don't know what it is, but it's going to be perfect for me. But based off of all the things I know I want to do, which is help people do something different every single day. I can't be sitting in an office and I have to be creative. So creative, helping people and not do the same thing every single day is kind of like my big three for like, I knew I had to have these things as part of my daily life. It's like photographer was never on my radar even for a second. And so I guess I was very non-committal with my future. I was like, there's going to be something. I know there's something. And I have been so surprised with different jobs that I've had. And I was like, oh, this is a job? Like as you get older, I mean, when you're young, what do you think? Firefighters, doctors, astronaut, marine biologist.
Rock star.
Yeah, you
exactly.
have no idea about all these little jobs that like, that exists? That's real?
Yeah. I had a job at a post-production house when I lived in Chicago. And it was my first job, like a real office job, where it was creative professionals. So they had editing, 3D animation and graphics, and coloring all in the post-production studio. And I was the little office manager, so I wasn't doing anything creative necessarily at the time. But it was the first time that I saw something other than the starving artist, like in front of me playing out like, oh, people can be creatives and be real professionals. You don't have to be this weird artist stereotype. And I was a little sheltered growing up. So, artist was not high on the list of things that I think I really dreamed about when I was younger. I mean, maybe I did want to be in theater when I was younger, but outside of that, no, I didn't really think about those things. And so I think I don't know. I've just always been open to if it fits within my interests and it seems like a fun opportunity and it's something I'm willing to try, yeah, I'll do it. And so I think like everything I do is maybe with intention for sure, but nothing specific.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, I feel like you're open to a lot of things. You're still pliable with making those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense with what you said. It's good to have a direction, but also not be the one that's driving that and it's kind of going where you end up and enjoying it.
Yeah. I also I don't know why specific goals, people are like, oh, what's your 5-year? What's your 10-year?
Hate that question. Right?
I don't
know. It's no good. You never know. Yeah. I always say like, I never ever have guessed where I'm at 5 years from now when I get there. Because I'm like, I would have never realized this would have been how things happened. So why even make a goal to it? It's like, I always say the best thing you can do is just make good decisions for yourself to keep yourself in a good spot for when stuff happens to you or around you. And you can make you just have to make the good decisions along the way. But making the people that have like solid 5-year plans, I'm like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, how do you do that?
Oh, people with linear careers. I mean, you're in med school. What are you in the next 5 years? Hopefully I'll be in my residency or it's like, okay, yeah, I get that. But like, I could never.
Yeah. They have
the way my life goes.
Yeah. Everything's like super mapped out. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. There's something very like to me scary about that.
Yeah,
It's
daunting is the word I was going to use.
That's just
life happens, and you don't always get to control that. Like things happen that you have to, be flexible with and,
you have to
make
pivot.
changes.
If you're so rigid and you have like a very specific plan, it's like, what if that goes off the rails a little bit? Are you going to be okay?
Yeah.
And that's probably partly where my thinking is from. It's like, well, if I have these specific plans and then I don't meet them, am I disappointing myself? Or is it okay that I'm making new goals like all the time? And I'm like, well, how about we just don't make goals?
Yeah.
And we just pursue fulfillment, happiness, and growth. And that's kind of like my main drivers, I guess, for my career right now. Yeah. And by the way, earlier when I said I didn't do family sessions, I wasn't, taking a crap on family sessions. I do family photo shoots now. Yeah. But what I realized is I no longer have one type of theme or subject matter that I enjoy taking photos of. Now for me, as long as it's in a style that I enjoy, which is like kind of more my stylistic stuff, I can take pictures of anything and it's completely 100% fulfilling for me. It's like, if you're going to tell me, figure out this lighting scenario and make it look like this, I'm in. It's like, you want something highly creative that uses these gelled colors? Yeah, let's make it happen. So it's like, I've done family portraits, I've done engagement sessions, I've done newborn, but like studio newborn with the starburst filter, like really fun stuff. And I think for me, as long as it's the what I do, I'm 100% game for any type of session that it could be. And like, it's cool that I've had like, I think once a year for the past 3 or 4 years now, I've had a senior photo shoot. And it's only, at this point, it's only one, like every senior season comes around, it's only one. But they're always so fun and crazy and over the top. And they're like, I want you to turn me orange and pink. And I'm going to be holding these flowers and I want there to be bubbles. And I'm like, yeah, you got it. This is going to be good. So it's like, it's no matter what it is, it still looks like my work. And I think, do you guys have like a way to describe your style? Do you think like you could describe like, oh, my work is...
That's a good question. I don't know. My style is always oddball, I guess. Maybe it's kind of weird. I would like a little off center, I guess, is sort of how I always say with my stuff.
Yeah, I feel like everybody has their own fingerprint with their art. Like they, like you could look at it and know it's theirs, but like defining that and making it look good is really challenging for a lot of people, just because you're in it and you're not able to quite see it, It's
interesting because I think a lot of photography and art, the people that see it could probably label it better than the person that's doing it could.
Yeah. And I've asked people before, and I'm like, how would you describe my style? And I mean, it's only because I've gotten feedback in the last few years that people are like, oh, I'll be scrolling and I'll know it's your picture before I see who posted it. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Like, tell them, like, is it because of that? They're like, I don't know. I can just tell. And I'm like, I don't know what it is, but a favorite word of mine for when I think about the style, I like to have both in the way I dress and a little bit in my work is obnoxious, is like, but I love it. And like, that's like, I love obnoxious. And like, sometimes my work's a little obnoxious with like, it's overly saturated or it's like really contrasty. And I know people probably wouldn't use that word to describe my work, but I do like there to be a small theme of like, something's like in your face or it's really annoying or whatever. Obnoxious is kind of like really bright colors. Or
I would say for your stuff, probably non-traditional, like more experimental and
bold, stylized.
Yeah. I don't know.
Obnoxious has a negative connotation to it.
Yeah, but I love it. I'm like, let's make it
obnoxious,
positive.
but in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, you look at me, I'm wearing checkerboard overalls. So it's definitely part of what I enjoy. And I think sometimes that's the only way. Because if you say like, oh, I'm colorful and I'm bright, there's so many. It's like, okay, yeah, there's so many. And I'm like, no, I'm kind of obnoxious with what
it can be
the colors I choose or the patterns I choose or whatever. Yeah. And I think I enjoy that about it.
Yeah, it's always nice being able to see the fingerprint. We talk about that. We have a few friends, and I absolutely can scroll through photos like on Instagram. I don't even have to look at the profile name. I'm like, I know who that is. I know who that is. And it's interesting because it's like you try to describe it and you're like, what is it? What is it? And like, you just know that it is. It's like, there's just something that carries through all of them, even if they're completely different photos. There's always like some underlying thing that's sort of like the angle or like where they're at. And it just sort of flows right through that. And I suspect lighting is a big part of yours.
Probably.
You know, and a lot of people don't do studio lighting. A lot of people don't do that stylized. It's much more common, I think, there's a lot more street photographers out there, at least in the scene that I've seen.
Depending on who you talk to, I think a lot of people who start with photography just don't have, I wouldn't say they don't have access. They just don't know that exists, maybe.
It's a little bit of that. A column B, column A. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's a lot of people experiment with like natural lighting, and so
especially here. I mean, like we have the most sun
so much
every year.
Golden hour.
Yeah, we have so much light. Like consistently, we have so much light. So it's like it, and we have so much open space with deserts and things like that. I know my friends who live on the East Coast are like, "Oh, you're so lucky you live in the desert. It's so photogenic." And I'm like, I have never shot in the desert, like me personally.
Yeah.
But I know it is very common to do that because it is in its own way very beautiful. And it's like we have really interesting light that you don't get in a lot of like other parts of the country. So I think it is very natural. It's more ability, more access. You can get out there, but honestly, I always struggled with the natural lighting at first. I was like, forget this. I don't like it. And I jumped like right into unnatural lighting in the studio.
It's so aggressive. Anywhere else, it seems like studio lighting's like the other direction. Here, it's like the outdoor lighting's the aggressive lighting. And like it's almost like too much half the time.
But the other side of Arizona stuff is like, I'm surprised studio stuff isn't more common because it's so hot most of the year. It's like, don't you want to be indoors?
I think it's a lack of studios.
We've definitely had a few pop up in the last few years.
It hasn't been
before that.
There wasn't really much, right? Like recently, thank goodness, there's been a lot more catching up on that.
There have been a few, but it's just like very limited access to them. When I first started getting into photography and like pursuing it, I remember finding a few, but a lot of those studios don't exist anymore.
It's unfortunate.
Or they're like limited.
The nature
like
of the business.
You couldn't just walk in and be like, "Hey, I'm a new photographer. I'd like to start shooting in a studio." You had to know how to shoot in a studio. You had to be connected with other people. And I feel like there's many more opportunities to actually get a start in that. So
it's kind of like when we talk about film. There's a lot of people that shoot on film right now, but there's so few that darkroom print. And it's a similar thing where they just don't have access to a darkroom. They don't have the ability or the knowledge about it to learn about it. So it's a similar thing. You know, sometimes you're limited a little bit on how far you can go on something just based on what's out there for you and available for you.
There's only so many YouTube videos you can watch.
There's only so much
to get you going.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, you got to get hands on some of that.
And that, I guess that's a nice lead into why I started doing education. I started doing educational opportunities in the forms of workshops, classes, things like that. I guess 2 years ago now ish. I helped put together a workshop for one of your guys's. It's like the studio. We did film in the studio one. And that was like kind of my earlier organization of like, oh, I bet I could put this together and set up some lights and people could shoot on their bays. And I could workshop that. And I really do enjoy helping people understand concepts that could look like they're daunting or highly technical, but at the end of the day, it's like, as long as you understand this, you don't really have to know the right words. You just have to know how to change things to get what you want. Like in reality, like you don't you don't have to know all these technical terms to like move forward with figuring out how things work. And so I found that a lot of YouTube was just steeped in like deep amounts of technical vocabulary. And, you know, you want to go up by a stop here and a stop there. And it's like the definition of a stop that's floating around. It's like, you know, it's this by one person's standards and this and another person's standards. And I was like, okay, or you could just say, turn it up until it looks right. I don't know. Like, so for me, I was really terrible at math growing up, like I could never get my brain wrapped around it. And then I actually ended up going to a community college during one of the summers when I was in college, because I didn't want to take it at a university. I was like, there's no way I'm going to pass university level, entry level math. There's no way. So I took it at actually Glendale Community College, North Campus, shout out. And my mom had told me that there was someone there who was known to be really, really great at teaching math. And I was like, okay, we'll see. I ended up acing that class, and I all of a sudden understood math because someone, the teacher, I don't remember his name now. God, I wish I could
can I have his
him.
number?
Right.
I need that, Jesus.
He kind of actually reminds me, like, if my memory serves me, have you guys seen Community? Dean from Community? He's like the bald guy.
I haven't seen it. No.
Anyways, he's a very like, I'm the dean. And he's like a very like a flamboyant dude. And he's short, bald, but like great energy. Kind of reminds me of this math teacher. Great energy. He was like, listen, if you learned how to do a math problem this way, and I'm telling you it's this way, both work, you can do it any way you want. And he'd be like, oh, and by the way, here's 3 other ways that you could think about how to solve this problem. And the 3rd or 4th way would be the way that I would understand it. And be like, oh, so that's how that works? I never knew. And in other forms of school, you know, teachers just say, yeah, this is the way you do it.
Yeah.
Show me your work. And I'm like, this work means not, I'll write things out, but I'm at the end, I'm still just guessing C because it's the most likely answer.
Yep.
So I knew that there were ways that you could describe things that most people struggled to really wrap their brain around that works for other people. It's like there's alternate ways. There's always alternate ways to do things. And if there's alternate ways to do mathematics, the foundation of everything around us, then yeah, there's alternate ways to learn about how to use photography equipment, specifically lighting. And like you said before, there wasn't a lot of opportunity to get into a studio because it costs money.
Yeah.
It's not free. You can't just be like, yeah, I'm popping in for 3 hours to fart around with this equipment. Okay, that will be $300. Right. Oh, okay. Sounds good. Yep. So it's partly that. People don't want to waste their money, their time doing something wrong. And like at the beginning of my classes, I would say, don't be like me and buy the crappy equipment early on, the super cheap stuff, because I used it for like 6 months and then I was like done with it. And I still have it, honestly. I thought about selling it or something, but I was like, no one wants this.
I started with Newer. I
no, that's what they were. That's what they were. The Newer. Yes.
Yep.
That's what it was.
Yeah, they were super cheap.
Sorry, Go Docs. Wonderful equipment. No, it was Newer.
And you could get the little softbox for them as well.
Yeah.
But you had to be careful because if you had the modeling lamp on, you'd end up melting the softbox.
Oh, no.
Which I found out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you had to be careful with that. But yeah.
Good set to ruin, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Those things were like, it was a good set. I will say
it worked.
Yeah.
But I could tell I wasn't going to do anything major with it.
True.
In terms of power.
Yeah.
So
really limited there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. Was it like an 80 watt strobe or something?
Those were 60 watt.
Yep. Even worse.
Yep. I remember because that was actually like the first set I got. I was very limited on what I could do with it. Yeah. And I was doing some portrait work and I just I would put up 2 soft boxes like right next to each other and have people stand like right in the center. So I could like create this particular lighting with it. But I mean, that was what I could afford at the time. And I was
me
like,
too.
All right, I'll roll with this until I could afford Alien Bs. And I got one Alien B and was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I could like
big step up.
Blow somebody's face off with this.
Yeah. My next set of learning on were the Palsy Bluff Einsteins. So that was my next.
Yep.
And that's what Block Studio had.
Yeah.
They still have. So that's like pretty much what I learned on because I ended up renting. I got a membership from them early on. I don't remember if it was 2020 or 2021 when they started that, but I signed up when they first started a membership and I was like, yeah, it's a monthly cost, but you know, it's 12 hours a month of time that you get for like $400 or something at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm using all 12 hours every month. And that's what I did. Nice. And when I figured out I wanted to learn how to use stuff, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to I'm just going to pony up. I'm not going to do some of these other fun things that I normally do. Instead, I'm going to spend that money on a membership where I am going to use every last hour from my membership while I'm learning how to do stuff. And I remember going to one lighting class early on, and at the time I was like, oh my gosh, this information is so good. And it was so good. It was so informative, so in depth, a lot of definitions, a lot of technical terms, but it didn't show you like how to put a light on a stand like safely, or how to attach a modifier to a light, or how to make your camera communicate with the light, you know, via like, you know, the hot shoe or a cable, or, you know, like any of these number of things that make a camera work with a light. And so after that class, I rented the studio, and I came in, and the person who checked me in was like, all right, what are you here for today? And I was like, I'm going to use the strobes. And he was like, all right, love to hear it. Do you know how to put a modifier on the light? And I was like, no, I don't. And he's like, okay, well, do you know how to make the light work with your camera? And I was like, no, I don't. And he's like, okay, well, do you know how? And he like went through a list of things, and I was like, I don't know how to do any of this stuff.
Oh, man.
And the stuff I learned in the class, it was a lighting class. It talked exclusively about lighting, but it was more like, I guess, foundational principles of like the technical, like we learned about like Rembrandt lighting and butterfly lighting, and like what degree angle you have to get that effect and stuff like that. So that is foundational like understanding for lighting. It just doesn't show you how to use the lights. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of more what I would need, I think, since it's like, that's what's stopping me from being able to do stuff, is how do I even make this work?
Right.
And so I did start teaching. Initially, someone requested, they were like, hey, Rachel, people are breaking our studio equipment. How do you feel about creating a little class that people can attend where they learn how to use the studio equipment so things aren't getting broken anymore? And I was thinking about how when I learned, and like the information I got from that initial class, I didn't even end up being able to really like cognitively like put the pieces together and understand what the different settings were meaning and why it mattered until like a year later into my journey of like learning about lighting. It's like that class was like, oh, now I'm at the level in my knowledge of using equipment that the notes I took from this class are making perfect sense to me. But there was this huge part in the middle that was like the access point for all of that is still closed. And so when I got asked to develop a class for that, I kind of took it really seriously. And I was like, hey, I think I want to do classes. Like, I'll try this one as like a first round. And that was at Afternoon Studio. And it went really well. And I like spent a long time putting together like the slides. And I was like, okay, what's the best order of information that this could be presented that like makes the most sense? And like, I made sure to tell people, yeah, here are the names for these things, but I'll be talking about them in very layman's terms. And so I made sure in all of my classes that things were, no matter what experience you had with lighting, you could understand what I was saying, because I was just saying like, oh yeah, with lighting, there are a number of ways that you can adjust the brightness of a light. You can physically push the up and down button or the little knob on it, or you can physically move your light closer or further away. That also affects the brightness of the light. And so it's like it's like there's multiple ways to understand a lot of different things. And I think a lot of my stuff was aimed more at, I want to give people foundational understanding of things that they could do or steps that they could take to adjust what they're seeing so that people are confident to play around with stuff. Because I really push also, you have to test it. And if it's not right, move something, test again, move something, test again. I was like, I don't get it on the first try. Sometimes I do. And I'm like, ooh, can't believe it. But I'm still, taking a test shot being like, oh, that's bad. Let's adjust some things. Like that doesn't go away unless you're like really good at guessing or you always use the same exact scenarios and
Right.
situations. You're in the same exact space with the same exact amount of bounds and the same exact amount of light, the same exact lights. So I try to not give people my style. And I'm not trying to say I'm like keeping like my style away from the class, but I try not to put my spin on like my preference of how I use things, or like my preference for certain modifiers. Like I don't include in there my favorite modifiers, but in some classes they're like, oh, what are your favorite modifiers? And I'm like, now I have to talk about some modifiers that I'm not talking about today in class.
Yep.
And you're going to be interested in those and you're not going to try these.
Right.
And it's like, I know how my brain works.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, I haven't done any this year, but I did like a full year, once a quarter last year with Block. I taught like it was an intro to studio. So it's like safely using equipment. We talk about different types of stands, different sandbags, different types of lights, the difference between continuous and strobes, just like really foundational understanding. And then I had a beginning level and then like a intermediate and then an advanced class. So it was really cool kind of creating something that was progressive and touched on a lot of different areas, but they are a lot of work. And I think a part of me really, really does enjoy like an education piece. I get a lot out of seeing people understanding something or trying something and then their picture comes out cool. And I'm like, see, like you can make it too. And my mom's always like, oh, she's not going to like I say this, but she's like, oh, you're going to give away all your secrets. And I'm like, that's literally impossible. I don't have secrets.
Yeah.
Like I'll literally give you my settings for things, but like you said earlier, like I'm always going to make what I'm going to make and you're going to make what you're going to make. And even if we're in the same studio with the same lights, with the same models, we're going to get different pictures fundamentally. And I actually did a photo shoot like that with Eli. And we, on purpose, we wanted to show that like even with the same exact situations and scenarios, the photos that you get or come out are still going to be wildly different from one photographer to another. And so we got together, we planned on one model. We changed the light setup like 2 or 3 times. And then we shot on that light setup each. And then we actually shot film and we got our photos developed and they turned out so different, even though it's the same model in the same clothing, with the same lighting in the same space at the same time. Like
it's crazy. We do a intro to film class and we have everybody walk around the block and shoot. And everybody has their own perspective. We have a lot of people that it's similar photos, but you'll have one person who's like very abstract at what they shoot. And then you have another person who's like very particular about what they're doing. And it's the same photo walk. It's the same group of people.
We've done the walk like hundreds of times at this point. And like, it's just amazing how different every time. And every time I look at the photos, I'm like, where the hell was that?
You're like, I've never seen this before.
Like, literally around this block, like hundreds of times. Like what? Like, so it's
amazing
never the same.
Granted, that's a little bit more, there's a little bit more openness to shoot in different ways. But like for you guys, like shooting in the studio where you have kind of a limited setup, it's like, it's crazy that you still have your own like fingerprint to what it is that you shoot. And it's the slightest adjustment too. It's especially with portrait work. It's like the nose, like pointing that just slightly one way changes everything. The whole lighting, the whole scenario just changes. Yeah. And it's just amazing. Like, I don't know. Everybody has their own, like, I'm going to not take it right now. I'm going to take it right now. Yeah. It's, just a slight difference. And it's like, it's noticeable.
We used for most of them, we used just one light, and we decided we wanted to use a spotlight mount. And so we had a nice spotlight. And I remember Eli did his first, and he had the model standing up so that the light was like almost like a hair light or backlight, rim light. And he like did really interesting like double exposures with silhouettes and it like was really, really cool looking. And then when it was my turn, I had the model primarily lay on the ground in different parts of the outline. So it's like, we didn't even use that one light source in the same way. Like he used it in a completely different way than I did. And I wasn't trying to do something different than him. That was like what I thought of when I saw the model in the space. I was like, oh, lay down and I want to like cut it off here and like play with the shadow in the light area. And like, I don't know, even we can have the same exact everything and two people look at it and fundamentally use it different, but nothing has moved. And it's the exact same. It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Everybody has their own perspective.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So you should have been a digital and film too, right? So when did film come about? Was film always kind of around, or is that something you just sort of brought in?
I always thought that I couldn't do film because it was really technical, but then my mom reminded me that every time I'd go to summer camp, I'd bring so many disposable cameras and I would just be snapping away.
Yep.
So yeah, I've always been into, and then the little tiny one, is it the Cool Pix or something? It's like,
The
no, the
iZone?
iZone,
Polaroid,
yeah. And you pull
We have one of those in the lab. Yeah.
Yeah, I found mine. It's a white one with the different colors that snap on the front. But I was always into like instant film and, you know, the quick stuff. But I guess I never really clocked it or remembered it because I didn't count it as like, oh, that's just what we had at the time. It's not like film photography, but it's film. So I guess that's like the only version I did of it up until, oh my gosh, why did I even get, I think I was influenced by my friend Reed. She's a model and she works with a lot of film. And I remember I started working with her. No, that wasn't it either, because the very first photo shoot I did with her was film, but that's when I first met her. So I was already shooting the film before then. Oh, my mom gave me her old film camera that she got when she graduated from high school. It's in a little Olympus OM10 or something.
Nice. Yeah.
Just classic, you know, a good starter film camera. And I was like, yeah, why not? I guess I do photography now. I guess I can try this. But I think when I started really getting into it, it was after I started working with models and Reed, who did a lot of work with film, and I saw a lot of her cameras and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And of course, once you get into film, you generally also get into film cameras.
Yep.
We don't have to get into it, but that is an aspect that usually comes with it. You're like, ooh, what's that one?
Yep.
Try all the films and the cameras too.
But I did end up at a film walk where I met Eli and Eldon and Dino and Brittany for the first time. Trying to remember, I don't remember how I found out about it. Gosh, I'm racking my brain now. I really don't know how I found out about it, but I went. Oh, and I met Slim as well that day.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And
was that one of our events? They've definitely been on a lot of our events together too.
No, it wasn't our event, but it was like juxtaposed to our kind of group, I guess.
Yeah, we met downtown on Pierce, like right outside of Block Studio on the Pierce.
Yeah.
And then we walked around that neighborhood, and that was like my first time shooting outside with a film camera. And I don't even remember when that was, but that was kind of like my early stages. But one thing I've really, really loved about film is I think it's taught me more about light and like truly understanding what my eyes are seeing versus what a camera sees, more so than digital really was ever doing. And I don't know if it's because it's slower or if you have to be more intentional, or how film renders light because of the chemicals versus, you know, electronically reading it. I don't know what it is, but I was getting a few roles developed early on. And one day I was in the passenger seat of a car. I think my mom was driving. We were going under this little like overpass bridge, and some light was like flicking through, like in little shadow, like little slotted areas. And I remember having like a "that's so Raven" moment where I was like, I understand light. I was like, oh my gosh, I get it. But it was like, it went hand in hand with shooting film. And I always tell people now, I'm like, if you want to understand light, you should shoot in black and white and you should shoot with film. Because while I am a color person through and through, I really rock heavy with black and white film because it really does something else it feels very technical. I know it's a lot fidgetier of film too. Like it needs to be treated a lot more specific. So, but I feel like for understanding what I'm doing, a lot of times I was just trying to put a lot of pretty colors together. But when it's black and white, you can really see the values of things, and you're like, oh, this is not a well balanced image with light. And so it really, film and black and white photos have really helped me figure out like what I'm looking for with light. And it really taught me a lot about like my preferences. And I still prefer to shoot with film most of the time, unless it's like a really high pressure situation, like a campaign. And they're like, we want film. I'm like, okay, you're also getting digital because this can't be wrong.
Yeah.
And there's so many things outside of my control that could make this wrong.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. Yeah. Film has been a really interesting kind of larger part of my learning curve. And also something that I really love that I don't mind that I really love it. Like there's some things where I'm like, I love this, but I'm like, I wish I didn't like that. But the film is really great and it's been good to me, and everyone is so lovely in the film community. And it's like, I think something I like the most about it is I love learning new things, and there's like never any end to the amount of things that you can learn. Different types of camera, different types of film, developing processes, different, everything. There's just so many different variations and backs and stuff you can get into, so many combinations. And like, oh, well, I 3D printed a thing so you can shoot your Polaroid on a 4x5. And it's like, okay, I want that. Let me get that. So I think the film stuff is so fun for so many people because it's just like this endless well of just trying new things, and it's all fun.
Yeah.
It's all fun.
Yeah. There's no bottom. That's what I tell people all the time. A lot of people come into that workshop, that first one that we have, that have no experience whatsoever with film. And that's one of the first things I start telling them. I'm like, you won't find the bottom. Like there's going to be endless amounts of stuff that you can do. So if like this isn't for you, something else probably would be, because there's just so many things that you can do. I even like talk about like, did you know you can print like 500 different ways with analog? And they're like, what? And like,
I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, because it's just like you can't get bored with it. I mean, if you like photography and you need something to do, it's like, okay, you can try something different tomorrow. Yeah, it's literally. Like our friends Nate and Lucinda are now experimenting with salt prints. Yeah, they're getting salt printing. And they're like, you guys want to have a salt print with us? Like, yeah, like sure.
Absolutely. We'll try that. Let's try that. Why not?
Yeah, it's a fun hobby.
Yeah,
an expensive one too.
A little expensive too. Yeah, and then film, for maybe those reasons, it attracts kind of the looser's maybe not the right word, the more off-center crowd. We get kind of a more of eccentric kind of group in the film community, a little bit looser.
Yeah, all types.
A little less, feels the digital world feels a little gatekeepier than the film world does, for sure. Do you run into that at all with like just being a woman in film and in photography in general? It's traditionally a very male-dominated industry.
It very much still is. At least that's the way it feels to me still. I know there's a lot of different stuff going on, but a lot of the stuff I'm doing right now, if I have jobs where I need to bring on an assist, a lot of times I try to bring on another woman, and it's not intentional, but it's like those are people I've worked with, and I know they know how I function and how I work, and I trust them to handle equipment and all that stuff. And I do have a few gentlemen that they're my go-tos as well. But I've found that it has made a difference in, I think, like how soon people trust me to like do things right, or like I tried to assist for a really long time before anyone took me up on my offer. For like the last 2 years, I've been reaching out to more established photographers, men, women, anyone. But I tried a lot of women because I was like, I want to assist, maybe that's an easier way for me to get in. Like, who wants an assistant that has never worked with them before? So I tried to like set up meetings, and I'd be like, I'm happy to like, work with you for free for a job to test to see if you like working with me. And then we can figure out if you'd want, and like just nothing ever panned out. And I don't know if it's necessarily because of gender bias or whatever,
Yeah.
intentional or not. But I know I've been told a lot when I show up on set to do grip or gaffer work or doing an assist stuff. A lot of times they're like, oh, a girl grip, you don't see that. I'll have to remember because sometimes we need a little diversity. And I'm like, oh, you're saying that to my face. How nice. And I hear that a lot, I think, on bigger productions. I do see a fair amount of women, I guess, on sets, but it's still not majority. It's not even close to half. And like for some stuff, I get it. But I mean, I have to do a lot of heavy lifting. A lot of times when I'm like working all day on set, sometimes I feel like I just do manual labor because it really is like I'll come home with just bruises everywhere. And I'm like, what is that from? I'm like, oh yeah, I had a job last week. So it is a lot of heavy lifting. But I think outside of that, like I think I have run into feeling like I'm not seeing a lot of other people like I guess like me-ish in the area that I'm getting into. It's just mostly me and a lot of dudes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I get, but also I don't get.
Yeah. There's a weird amount of, I always say gatekeeping is kind of the best word for it. There's a lot of dudes, and it goes back to like a lot of that technical stuff where you watch the videos and you're trying to learn something, and the guys aren't necessarily trying to teach you anything. Mm-hmm. They're trying to show you what they know.
Yes.
And they don't want other people to know what they know.
Yeah.
Because they feel very like, this is my thing. And that wouldn't make what I'm doing special if you knew how to do it. Yeah. And there's a lot. I mean, just our general society is sexist and has been for, since the beginning of time, which doesn't help. But
I think that's why I don't really like YouTube videos. It just kind of clicked with me that it's just like,
it's just a lot of dudes being like, hey guys.
Basically.
They don't really actually want you to learn what they're showing you. They want to show you that they know.
Yes.
That's what they're doing. And that's what a lot of that is. And even in the real world, I think you run into a lot of that where the guys are just like, as an older person, I'm always like shocked when it happens because it happens often. And my day job is a incredibly corporate job. And I still get mansplained and I still get treated like I'm like a 13-year-old girl. And it's just so creepy and weird, but you see it in like photography too. And I've noticed it a lot more, I think, with the digital people. That realm tends to be a little harder than the film, which is, I don't know, for whatever reason. But yeah, it's always just like, oh man, we're still doing this, are we?
Sometimes I don't notice it. And other times I'm like, oh, it's just me and a bunch of men doing this job right now. And I'm like, and I love seeing the ladies do it and, all types of folks. But it does, I don't know if it's on purpose either. And like, I think it is a little gatekeepy. I was going to say though, about the photography community in general, I think sometimes there is this idea that it's cliquey. And I honestly don't think it's super cliquey. I think something we also touched on earlier was it feels more like everyone's just trying to do their own thing. Everyone's trying to carve out their own lane. Everyone's trying to hone in on what they're doing and their look and, their future. And I think that doesn't always come across as like being super open and welcoming. And it's like, I feel like my head's down a lot of the time and like, I'm just trying to figure out my next step. And honestly, a lot of the time it's like, okay, I got this new client. Woo, so exciting. And they're like, yeah, what's your business account for the ACH payment? That's how we pay. And I'm like, I have to get a business account quick. How do I get one? Or it's like, oh, we're going to pay by credit card. And I'm like, credit card processors, like on Google. So I'm like, I'm always just trying to keep up with the next step in what I'm doing. And it's like the business side of things. And then it's like my personal side of things. And then it's in the creative side of things. Like I'm trying to grow all the different areas at once. And I'm trying to like help other people too, but you have to take care of yourself first. And I think sometimes in the photography community, there is a lot of you have to take care of yourself first. And it could come off a little bit like, oh, people could just kind of do their own things. And I'm like, yeah, kind of. They do their own things. And that's, I think, a good thing in a way. But it does get a little bit dicey, like you said, in the sharing of information.
Yeah.
And I see and also don't see why, because I share information regularly and I still make completely, I mean, not unique, original, but I still make work that's not like everyone else who's taken my classes. So it's like there is really something other than just knowing information. And I think we could be sharing more, and it's like more business connections and things like that. And I think if we were photographers, maybe we're a little more open with like tossing out someone's name to someone else. Like if I'm not available and someone's like, oh, you're not available. And I'll say, someone will ask me, hey, are you available, this date at this time? And if I'm not available, I will respond the first time and say, hey, I'm not available. Here are 3 other people I would recommend for this job. And I send either their Instagram pages or their direct contact information. I never reply with like, no, sorry, good luck. Like I almost always reply with, here are 3 people I would trust with this job that you could easily hire. I don't know their rates, but here's their work. I vouch for them. And I guess you don't really know who's saying your names where or what, but just know that if you know me, I probably say your name. Yeah. I tell people if I can't do it, I have for sure given your name to other people.
Because everyone's stronger together. If you just say nobody and they just go off and find somebody, what if they find somebody that's terrible? It's like, at least, you're putting, you're not putting your own work out there, but you're putting it in responsible hands. So good work is out there and you're not doing something to the community. Like we say that all the time about like, everybody works together. It's a stronger community for all of us. What's the thing? All tides rise all ships, or no, like it just everything rises together. It's you're not an island. As much as you want to be an island, in reality, a lot of this, especially with the art community, and especially how weirdly small the art community is here in Phoenix,
crazy small.
Which we always talk about how strange it is, that how small it is, and it's just. I get it. I mean, limited time. Everybody has their own things going on all the time. But together as a whole, we're going to make it a stronger place for all of us, and then maybe we'll become like LA, like actually have a scene. And that's like a lot of work for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's too much work for people right now. There will need to be more people. And I've actually had people who have come to me, tried to hire me, and they've never been my clients before. They tried to hire me for the first time. I've said, not available. Here's these other people. They've come back to me again and been like, are you available for this? And I'm like, oh yeah, I am available for that. And I've ended up working with them. And they're like, oh, we did end up hiring someone you gave us. So we trust your judgment. And it's like, we did originally want to hire you. So let's work together. So it's like, it's not, I don't think it's like always come back around necessarily, but I feel good about giving them people's names, and then people appreciate me really helping them. And they're like, sometimes they end up coming back around and hiring me. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I don't know if they would have necessarily done that, because a lot of times when you're first starting out, people like, hey, are you available? And if you're not available, they will never call you again. It's like, you get one opportunity to work with someone new, especially if it's like a collaborative thing. And it's disheartening, I guess, sometimes to like reach out to someone and then they're not available. And it's like, do you want to reach out again? And I don't know. It's just like this little social thing that people tend to do. And I knew early on, I was like, if someone asks me if I'm available and I ever want to work with them in the future, I need to say yes the first time they ask me if I'm available, even if I have to move stuff personally, because it's just like that creatively, because there's so many people that are doing it. They could just ask someone else and then they like their work and then they're not working with you anymore.
Right. So
I've found that instead of just saying no and leaving it at that, if I, help them, it does sometimes help me in the end, but that wasn't my original goal when I started. I was just like, dang, your event's so soon. I don't want you to be stuck with your sister's cousin. I don't know, you know what I mean?
True.
Like, so it's like, let me throw you some names.
Well, especially with the way social media is now, which like you have to make these connections. Like you have to pay for advertising to get your name out there and get connected with people in the community, as opposed to, back when, Instagram first started, where it's like everybody's posting their stuff and everybody's connected and everybody feels like they're, they have a group essentially. Yeah. And
everyone gets eyes on their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a good spread there. And just the way social media is, it's just like, now you got to buy ad space, and you could be connected with people, for the most part with people who are close, but then those other people don't see your stuff because they're just the way that whole, that whole thing works. It's kind of ridiculous, but I digress.
Yeah. I haven't jumped into the advertising on Instagram yet. But I've thought about it. It probably would help.
Yeah.
It's helpful in certain situations. It's for sure. I always feel dirty doing it. Gross. Like I have
feeding the bees.
Yeah. Like I have a project that I'm working on and I need participants for it. And I need very specific participants for it. And I was like, I'm not going to find the amount of people that I need for this project just off of my own followers, because it's a very specific person with a situation that has to come together to get that. And I was like, I'm going to have to do an ad like to get these people. And it's worked. It's been a targeted ad because it has to be Phoenix because I can't travel too far. And I was like, I felt dirty doing it, but I'm like, it's working. It's actually getting me the people that I need and getting me in front of their eyes. So in some ways, which in turn is then getting me followers. And I'm like, this feels like I paid for people, but it's just,
paid to be put in front of the right people.
Yeah.
What a world we live in.
Yeah.
You can't just
sort of how it is.
Be presented.
Yeah. I can't like make a flyer and put it up all around town and hope like the right people see it. I mean, I guess I could go old school and just start putting up all the flyers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't done a whole lot of ads. And I did an ad before for my gallery show. I did do one for that. Just to kind of see it. That was like the first one I did. And I was just curious like how they worked and how they.
Yeah. And I think it has to be for like a scenario where it's like a 1-day event or something. And I'm like, what am I going to advertise? Here's my portfolio. Come look at it.
Which a lot of people do.
Yeah. But I think it feels like if I'm doing, and I've already done my classes and I didn't even advertise. So maybe don't listen to me. I'm a hypocrite. But it's like, if there's something specific, like a special or something I'm doing, maybe I would be more inclined than just to like, well, let's just push myself out there, see what happens. My dad wants me to do that, to be very clear. He's been like, let's get in there. Let's spend some dollars. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Because then everyone's going to see I'm advertising.
It's good for certain things for sure. Like workshops, we advertise it for workshops and it's smart. It works. Yeah. It gets the workshop filled because our goal with the workshop, we have to make some money. Like we got to
occasionally
keep the lab
we'll post
going.
And we'll get like one person that signs up. We're like, yay, one person.
Yeah.
We need to fill these seats.
Yeah, we need more bodies to justify coming through to do the workshop. But we end up showing up for the one person and be like, you're gonna get the best workshop.
It can be so good.
Any questions you have, we got you.
Google seems slightly better for that kind of thing, but
yeah, it's a weird dynamic that we've monetized attention in that sense.
Yeah.
So.
I will be playing with advertising probably in a few months, just to like start looking at it. How specific can you get with it? Like, what does it ask you? Do you have to pick like age range? Like, what do you have to?
It's age range.
There's
it's
age
location,
range and location.
And then there's also certain aspects like, film photography or photography in general. You can select those things and
like themes.
You can refine it further and further.
To who you want to see it. Yeah.
Gender.
Do you select gender? Okay.
Yep. So
yeah, they do let you do all that, which is great. And also do it through your computer, not your phone, because Apple does it like 20%.
Apple charges you 30%.
Oh, is it 30? 30%
from the app?
Yeah.
Like from the Instagram app?
Yes. So do it on the computer when you do an ad through Instagram.
So don't
30%.
30%. Yeah.
It's insane.
Breaking
how
news.
Much they see.
Yeah. It's because of Apple, not because of.
And it's kind of new, right? Like they didn't do that before.
Somewhat recent.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
that's a lot.
Like we have a Patreon, and anybody who signs up with Patreon, like we lose 30% right off the bat.
Process.
So $10, we lose $3, and it goes to Apple,
Which is
kind of like
ton of money.
okay.
But yeah, so hot tip on that. Do it on your computer.
That is a hot tip, and I
Yeah.
will take that. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's,
or web browser. You can still do it on your phone. You just have to do it through the web browser, not the app.
yeah,
Gosh.
yeah.
Yep. It's ridiculous.
That's heinous.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be kind of careful with that. But you can like choose how much time you want to put on it, and it's so targeted. It actually does work well. That's why they charge for it. It gets it in front of the people that you're actually truly.
Yeah. I mean, I
looking
see
for.
other people do it and I'm like, good for them. And I think about me doing it and I'm like, oh, Rachel, no.
know.
It feels
It feels embarrassing.
It does. It feels a little icky and weird, but in the right application, it makes sense. Like I was doing mine at Focus, I'm like, how else am I going to do this? Because it's like it's a super specific thing that I'm looking for, and like
It's just a sad reality.
I'm totally finding the people, like they're totally finding me, which is great. And almost none of them followed me prior. It was only like 1 or 2 people that actually followed me on Instagram in the first place. So they would have seen it.
It's that or finding a different way to get yourself connected. You know, it's always been like networking has been a thing, because if you network, you're not really paying for advertisement space. You're just getting your name out there and you're getting connected with the community. And if you have enough people who support your work, they're speaking highly of your work and they're networking for you as well.
Yeah.
So, but it's becoming more limited, especially with COVID. Things have changed, so events are different, and so it's become a bit more challenging to get your name out there, get connected without going through, using an ad space to
pay to play.
It. Pretty much.
There's a lot of that,
Which is lame.
Luckily now there's a lot more in-person stuff happening than there used to be. It seems like the people are starting to finally figure out like we can actually have some get-togethers and like do some events together and like kind of work that way, which is really nice to see a lot more of that happening. I've been seeing a lot more people doing like little gallery shows and little get-togethers, and I'm like, yes, more of that, real life stuff. Like let's get off the computer. Especially like people printing work, like seeing people's work printed, not just on a teeny tiny screen on Instagram.
That's something I have not delved into. I haven't jumped, except for like the 1 or 2 times I've done stuff with you. I really haven't printed my work at all.
It's something that I feel, especially with social media, it's like everything is kind of shifted to be in this digital space now, because you're not really connected. The part of it is you're working more, or you value the time that you have and you choose to spend it, by yourself or at home with your partner, or, doing specific things that you like to do. So it's hard to get connected. I think the social aspect, like Stacey's saying, I think it's good that that's starting to pick up again. We're getting more people that want to go out and want to make that connection. It's kind of like, it has to be a way for a certain time for you to come back to it and go, oh, I like it. I like this.
Yeah.
But
the work looks different as well, because I've seen shows where I've seen people's work online and then I see it in like printed on a wall and I'm like, that looks different. That's not the same.
Yeah.
It has a different feel to it. And it's interesting, like the difference of that I've noticed. But yeah, we've slowly but surely seen it picking up a little bit by a little bit. And I'm like, this is good. This is good. I'm glad to see that kind of catching on a little bit more. Plus it's like the human interaction thing. Anytime I've ever gone to any of the shows, there's always a conversation about the photo and what people do. And like, then it just sparks other things. You're like,
yeah, we just went down to, Stacey had a piece in Decode Gallery in Tucson, and there was a gentleman that had popped in and, kind of sparked up a conversation. He was from Pennsylvania as well, or at least Delaware. So Stacey and him started chatting, and he used to shoot Tucson in like the 80s. He's got lots of old photos of Tucson in the 80s, which is like 25 years ago, 40? It's 40. Jeez, I just dated myself. I was like, wait, no.
It was like just yesterday. No, a little further. Yeah.
I wasn't going to call you on that. I was going to yeah, checks out.
It was like 5 years ago.
I was like,
it was like yesterday.
It feels like it was, but so like he's got an interesting body of work, and you wouldn't know because he's not on social media.
He's not on social media at all.
Yeah.
We never would have met him. And like we met him in real life. And I took a picture of the little flyer thing he had of a cover of his book that he made.
Yeah.
And that's how I found out about him. And I'm like, I never would have known, dude. I wouldn't known. And like, it's funny. We talk to a lot of older folks. Like we're part of AZ Photo Alliance. Shout out AZ Photo Alliance. AZ Photo Alliance has a lot of older members for sure. And a lot of them have no social media presence whatsoever at all.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have amazing work. And it's like the only way you get to see it is if you talk to them and they show you a book, or you go to one of the shows and you see their piece up on the wall. And it's kind of crazy how hard we've pushed the other way, because it was always in person. It was always like a book. It was always a wall. And now it's completely this other thing. And it's nice to see it kind of merging together a little bit better now. And it's kind of coming back, which is nice.
Yeah,
I think both are super valid, but I think if you go one way, either way, you're missing out on a lot of stuff. So
Yeah.
a mix is where we're headed, I think, which is really good.
Yeah, there's a good balance there, and I think that's partly why a lot of people do zines now, is because it's an easy way to be able to have this and see it in print and share it, and you can pick the book up at your leisure. You don't have to show up at 6:00 and attend this event and be social or socially awkward. And there's print in that aspect, but it's really nice
accessible
to see stuff printed and on the wall, and actually see the time and energy that went into producing that piece and be presented in that sense. So I'm excited to see more of that.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Do you have much of your guys' own work hanging up here?
At the lab, there's some. Here, mostly I collect my own work. Are the yard longs that we have. We have a lot of...
Stacy's been very active with her work. A lot of her stuff's actually out in the world right now. Out in the world.
It's out in the world. I said right now I have, 5 different places I have stuff hanging.
Yeah.
Which is just, that's a conscious effort to do that, because I've been like, I need to reach out. I want to start like seeing my stuff in real life out in the world, not just the internet. Yeah. So it's been a very conscious choice on my part. I'm like, all right, I'm going to start applying for calls to art, to galleries, and I'm going to start doing that. And it's a lot of work, and it's like, but it's very conscious to do that. So it's starting to get out, and I'm really enjoying it. So I've been pursuing that a lot harder. I got a piece that was in the Soho Photo Gallery in New York City, and that kind of really sparked it a lot, because that was like super dream.
Stacey's like, I'm going to New York. I'm like, what?
I'm like, I'm going.
For your little 8x8 photo?
I am going to the show.
Packing my bags.
Yep, absolutely. I said I was going.
But,
yeah, because it was like when I was younger, like that was a dream to me, like to have like work in a New York City gallery, like, and I was like, holy shit, it happened. Like, I'm an adult. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna totally do that. But there was something just about being in that kind of environment and talking to other artists that are kind of in that same vein. A lot of the folks that were in there were older, and that's kind of what they do. And I think a lot of them also, not a lot of social media on a lot of those folks. And it's because it's just a different world. And I was like, oh, wow, I really like this. I like this, in-person aspect of this. I like seeing a body of work together. Gallery shows especially, because you see like a theme together, which I really enjoy, because they're typically, the call to art is like a very specific, like, this is what the show is. So it's really kind of fun to do that.
Yeah, I have one piece that I made recently.
He did actually print a piece and put one up.
And ironically, it was a digital photo that I shot back in 2015. And I was like, you know what? I got to participate in this show, and for the AZ Photography Alliance show. And I was like, well, I don't like anything that I've shot recently. I really don't have like a good portfolio, which is terrible. But ever since I started the lab, I've kind of moved away from doing my own work, and my excitement has been seeing other people do their work and be able to learn something new and like achieve something. Yep. So I feel like a parent in that aspect. Like,
it is very rewarding.
It really is.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part, is being able to see other people like be successful. And I'm just like, oh yeah, you did it. Yeah. You're getting better.
It's a balance. You love all the behind the scenes technical kind of stuff, which is what drew you into workshops anyway. Because you like the chemicals.
I will say
how it all works.
I do miss it, and I'm excited to get back into it. So the end of this year, we have a lot of things going on, but I'm excited to get back into mine and like redefine what it is that is my work. But I feel like I got to get weird with it. Like I got to get weird in my head to like define that and be in a place of like uncertainty mentally, which sounds dangerous, but it sounds dark, but really redefine what that is, because I feel like I've been very conservative with things, and I want to let that grow. But anyways.
It's a time thing too.
Yeah.
It's just we both have full-time jobs, and we always say we're juggling a lot of balls at the same time, which is sort of like all my work now has been very like, I am going out of my way to do my own work, because I'm like, I realized like I love the lab, and after I met Dan, I kind of stopped doing my own work, and it was not consciously, it was just that I started getting wrapped up time-wise with something else and all the stuff that we started doing that I was equally loving. But then I realized my work was sort of going by the wayside. And I was like, nope, I'm going to reverse that. I need to I can focus on both. It's a very conscious thing. You can get very stuck sometimes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get stuck.
Yeah.
For sometimes, life, it's out of your control a little bit too, some of it.
Yeah, this is the first time for me recently that like all of the stuff I've been creating recently has been client stuff. I think I've made something for fun 2 times so far this year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, that was never an issue for me before. I was always making something fun, but that was just me in like a super, super, super heavy learning curve,
Yeah.
I was just trying stuff as often as I could. I'm like, that didn't work, let's try that. That didn't work, let's try that. Oh, maybe I like when I do that mistake. Oh, maybe I should have shot more with this light before I changed it. So a lot of that is like just repetition over and over and over. And now that I'm not doing that anymore, now I'm just making stuff. And I'm able to like, someone shows me a picture and they're like, we want to create this. And I'm like, say less. And I'm like, there you go. And they're like, that looks exactly like it. I'm like, I know. I know how to do this now. It's great.
Yeah.
I like trust myself to make things look how I think they're going to look. And like when I first started out, it's like, I want to make this. And then I make something that's not even 20% similar to that. Like it's so far away from that. And now I can make things where I'm like, I want it to look like this and it will look like this. But I think that stopped me from doing more personal, fun, creative, experimental things, because sometimes it's not so experimental anymore. And that's something I really love about, I guess, like the type of work that I do with the lighting and everything. So sometimes it's like, okay, let me get a new piece of equipment so I can switch up my mix and let me try a few other things or something like that. But this is the first time that I've like struggled to find time to make fun things just for me. And the 2 times I have, very happy with. And I'm like, oh, I love these. These are my new favorite things I've ever shot. And then it's like, I haven't made anything for another month. So I don't know. I mean, I do my little point and shoot. I carry a little point and shoot around in my purse at all times, and an extra roll just in case one's done. I can pop another one in. But that's about the extent of it for the most part. Letting a lot of my studio hours go to waste now these days. But it's like, it's still like the access to it. And I'm using most of it with like client sessions and stuff, but I'm definitely not how I was early on, where I was like, I'm going to use every single hour. I would even, if there's like 1 hour left, I would like book it for a weird time. And if someone couldn't show up, I would just go and do little self-portraits or something. And I was like, I will be using the studio time.
Sometimes you have to force yourself a little bit on it too.
Yeah.
You got to be like, I've like intentionally, like last week or whatever, I was like, I'm going to the lab. I'm going to develop like all these rolls, and I'm going to do some printing off of all these rolls. And I was tired as hell. And now, like, before I even went down, I was like, I don't even want to do this. And I did anyway. And I was like, no, I have to do this. I'm like, I just have to keep myself in the flow of working and thinking and being creative. I don't want to get in this weird rut of like not being a creative person. It's weird to be like a creative person and at the same time feel like you're not actually creating anything.
Yeah.
And it's a weird place to be. And we were kind of stuck in that for, I guess,
Well,
Dan, you're still stuck. You're still stuck in it a little bit.
But
sort of stuck like that.
It was exciting to print that one piece. It was of a power plant. I'm like, man, this would be cool if it was huge. And I was like, it'd be cool to do like a body of work like this. And I was like, I can like, I get excited.
Mm-hmm.
I have ADHD, I'm pretty sure. Well,
Yes.
I just did a
love
test.
some new concepts.
I know. I'm like,
you do have ADHD.
I like
official diagnosis there.
like, I feel like I could really get with it, but yeah, I think there's some good stuff coming. I just gotta make some time for it and just, lock in.
Yeah. I'm currently in an editing hole. I think I have like 6 sessions that I need to like pump out in the next 2 weeks.
Ugh.
So I have a little whiteboard that I'm working from and checking stuff off. But some of these projects are a lot bigger than I planned or really could. It's like my biggest client ever. I just shot. It was like it was a 2-day photo shoot, but it's like most deliverables I've ever done. And half of it was outdoors, half of it was in studio. So I'm like really playing with these natural light ones because it isn't my immediate go-to. So I'm like having to play with them a little bit longer than other stuff. But I mean, all day yesterday, all day today, I'm like, this is like my 3 hours of fun for today. And then I'm going right back home and I'm like getting back on my computer and I'm sitting down and I'm editing until I can't keep my eyes open anymore.
Ugh.
Like that's where I'm at right now. So it's like no one booked me for the next 2 weeks. I am busy. I can't take any photos because I have to deliver these old ones before I can take new ones.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's part of it too, I guess. It's like you asked for this, right?
Yeah.
People hire you to take photos. You have to edit them and then deliver them. So I'm like,
Yep.
That's part
There
of
you're
it.
at. We do that all the time with workshops in the morning because we have them typically early, like Saturday morning, and we've been working all week. And we're like, okay. Once we get there and we're doing it, we're fine. But before that, we're like, oh my God, okay, what do we do? What do we do? We got to get up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday to do this? No.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
It can be a little hard, but
It's fun. At least there's new people every time.
But once we're there, it's like there's something very, and you've probably experienced this with like, teaching a bit. It's so satisfying about showing somebody how to do something, especially somebody that maybe thought like they were super intimidated by it and really scared to do it. And like, I don't think I can do this by myself. I've been watching YouTube videos and they're not working and I'm really worried about this. And then you show them and then you see them realize like, I can fucking do this.
Yeah.
Like, and they get really excited about it. And you see like that spark kind of come up in them. And you're like, even if I can't do my creative stuff right now, I know someone else is doing something that we help spark a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's super satisfying to kind of be able to have a part of that. So that itself is creative. It's just creative in like a slightly different way.
Yeah. I'll have students send me photo shoots of like stuff they did after my class. They're like, can I send you my Dropbox link of my gallery from the shoot I just did? I really, really love it. And I took everything I learned from your class and it's like, I didn't like it at first. And then I changed some stuff and now I'm really happy with it. And I'm like, yeah, show me. I want to see what you made. And it's like always good. I'm like, oh, heck yeah. That's what I like to see. But it's like people are excited that they can use what they learned and like actually apply it. Because a lot of times it's like, there is so much information that you can take in, so much, and so much of it could be not even useful to you at this moment, but you don't know that yet because you don't know what you don't know. So I try to make things and I'm sure you guys do too, and I've taken your workshop, very easy to make sense of what you're saying, very easy to see exactly what's happening and why it's happening, and you explain the reasons why. And that's kind of like what I end up doing in my classes too, where I'm like, well, this works because of this, but if you think about it in this way, you can make, and they're like, oh, yeah, I guess that does make sense. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's not technically how people would explain it to you, but it is a way you can think about it working. So you can like plan. So like, I think one of my easiest things I can kind of tell people who are like first getting into like strobes and stuff is, I think that one of the big things is like, oh, camera settings, like I don't get it. And I'm like, there's so few hard and fast rules with like strobes, but unless it has the high speed thing, don't go over 1/200th of a second. So it's like your shutter speed is, just leave it there. Like you can't go any faster. So don't even worry about that anymore. But it's like it's like, do you want your camera to see the light that is available? Yes or no? Like, or do you only want it to see what the lights are making? And they're like, oh, well, I wanted to blend it. And I'm like, all right, so if we're outside and you want to use strobes with sun, and it's like, middle of the day, whatever, weird shadows. I was like, make your settings work for the highlights. So it's like, make sure your highlights aren't up. So it's like all your settings should match that, but you can't go any faster than 1/200th of a second because you're adding in strobes or something on your camera. And then you just make the light as bright as it needs to make the shadows as bright as you need to make them. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, your camera settings tell you what you want to see that's currently here. And it's like, if we're in the studio and there's like, a skylight or something, and I'm like, do we want to use that? And it's like, well, no, we don't want to use any available light. So we need to start our camera settings at a place where our screen is completely black, because that means our camera's not seeing any of the available light. And then we make the lights work for us. So we change the light brightness and things to match the settings that we first put into our camera. And I feel like that's not intuitive at all. But once you learn it, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Like, you turn your camera to what you want it to see first, and then you make the lights power work for your camera settings. And it's like, oh, I guess that checks out. But like, I would have never thought about it that way at first.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just...
comprehension. I mean, it's really like, what is it that takes, what triggers the neurons in your brain to fire properly, to like grasp something. Yeah. And sometimes it's just, explain it in a different way, because then you process it differently. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah. We do that a lot in the lab. I think it's helpful that we have both of us, because we both look at things slightly different. And Dan will explain something, and you can tell by looking at people if they're getting it. You can absolutely see it.
Huh?
And he'll say something, or I'll say something, and you'll see like some confused people. And then the other one will say it a different way, the way that we see it differently, and then it'll click for them. And it's like, it's kind of nice. We work off of that a lot.
Yeah.
Where we both have because Dan comes at it a very technical way a lot of the time, and I come across in a very abstract way. And that works together, because everybody learns a little different. Everybody comes looking at it.
Sometimes my brain's not working in the morning, and I go really abstract.
Oh my God. Every once in a while. Yeah. Dan will drift off into some sort of like weird tangent. He goes like,
but like for those who are ADHD in here, I'm going to take on a little everyone just start looking at Dan like, what the hell is he talking about? Oh, it makes sense.
You're like, yeah.
He's going on a journey now.
I'm glad. Well, it made sense to me. So
it's a Dan journey. You do that a lot.
Yeah.
Especially I can't wait for tomorrow. You get to
go on a tangent.
You do at a tangent.
Is that a term that you guys have coined?
Yes.
Definitely. He does that every once in a while.
Oh man.
Or he just stares into space every once in a while. He'll stop like mid conversation and just sort of like.
It's the joys of teaching.
Yeah, sometimes you lose your thought and you're like, wait a minute, coming back. Got it.
Yeah.
Wait, what did I say? What did I say? I feel fortunate that we have each other, because like often we'll like forget a word or like something, and we'll get stuck on something, and the other person knows what we're going to say. So they can like fill in and like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, that, thank you.
That reboots the memory.
It's super helpful. I think if we had to do this by ourselves, it would be a little different. And you did it for years by yourself for sure.
Yeah.
But it's helpful to have someone to bounce back and forth with.
Yeah.
Like to kind of tag team it out. It's like we share a brain. We only need half a brain, because we can make one whole brain together.
Perfect.
Pretty much. Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Do you have any like large things in your head that you're like, man, that's a project someday I'm going to work on? It's just too big for me right now. Do you have anything like that? I know you're not much of a future planner, but...
I think there's things that I generally think about where it's like, at this point, I've done a few different photo shoots for musicians or artists, things like that. So I think working on much larger sets, bigger studio type things, that's definitely in my future. I think musical artists could definitely be something I see for my future on like a much larger scale.
Yeah.
Love to do like album art and things like, I feel like when I look at my work, I feel like it lends itself to like album art or like single art cover, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
It's very yeah, it's like, it's something and you don't always know what, but it's like, it looks cool. And I feel like that's definitely what I try to go for in the end. I'm not trying to do anything. It's like, do I think it looks cool? Yes or no? And if yes, it's done. And if it's not, we're still working on it. But I think just making cooler, bigger stuff, I think is on my mind for the future. And it could look like musicians. It could look like, I don't know, any number of, I mean, I love artist headshots because it's like they get to add a little creativity in there. It's like, tell me about you so I can mix it into your stuff. Anything that's like more creative. So bigger, I think just bigger, more creative, higher stakes. It will stress me out, but I want it.
Nice. Mm-hmm. You'll go for it too. Because there's a lot of folks that like, you know, we talk to, not necessarily on the podcast, but just in general. And they talk about all these like things that they're going to do. And like, you're not going to do anything. You will do it.
So you think I'm going to actually follow through with what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I could see you like
confidence
taking it off with like having your own like group of people that you're able to hire to assist with projects and be like, you know, take that next step. Because I feel like you're really good with directing, at least from what I've seen, and are very personable. So that with that direction, that mindset that you have would be, in my vision, good to be able to have a team and be able to like have like a whole crew essentially to like drive this.
I like that.
To be able to work on those bigger sets and stuff. So
yes. And I know that, I mean, I worked as a second photo assist. There was another one and he was the main photo assist and I was the second photo assist, but it was for a commercial for Honor Health. So it's like this nationwide spot, this commercial that they did. It was 2 days and there was no fewer than like 30 people on set between cast and crew and like talent, like it was so, and like the crew, it was massive. Of course, it was like 75% of everyone with like all the different things that people were doing. And it was like my first look at like a set that big, and it's not even that big compared to like, you know, other sets that could exist. But it does reinforce in me the need to have a lot of people to call on and a lot of people that can do a lot of things. And it's like, it makes me want to diversify my skills even more. I'm like, do I want to become a digitech? Who knows? It's like, what am I going to look into next? And it's like, mostly just like, what do I want to learn about? I guess it's going to aid me in my abilities. But like, I don't know. I see everyone doing all these different jobs. And I'm like, yeah, I need to know more people so that when I have someone who tries to hire me, I can be like, okay, I got 10 people I can call right now who I know can do this. So I think I am actively trying to do that. I have Eli assist me.
Yeah, we saw you guys the other day, like outside the lab. You were doing something. You were up on a ladder, or someone was on a ladder.
Yeah, that was for Postino. That was a shoot for Postino for their wine call, and it was like kind of a more last minute. I was wondering, but we did a outdoor one. I think they posted that picture too.
Oh yeah.
Oh cool.
But
nice.
It's really fun bringing my friends on. And at first, it was really funny. The first year I worked with them, and I was like, I need to hire an assistant for this like 3-day job. And it was Eli. It was like the first person I hired. And they were like, does it have to be someone skilled or can it just be like someone from our office that assists you? And I was like, unfortunately, this needs to be a highly skilled individual to like set up my lights. And like when I say, hey, I want this here, that here, and get this modified, like they can just do it. And I can be like talking and working with you while they're like setting up the next shot. Like, so it is a highly skilled individual. And it's like, Eli doesn't need to be assisting. He's very talented. His work is great. And like I think people assume or have told me, they're like, oh, you shouldn't be assisting. You're too good to assist. And I'm like, I'm literally not. I'm like, please hire me to assist you, please. Because it's like assisting work is so good because at the end of the day, I'm done. Like there's no editing for hours after. It's just like I put in my time.
Yeah.
I got fulfillment. I added to something and think about it no more. Like that's over for me. So it's like, I love having assisting, or it's like some of my favorite jobs right now is just showing up, doing what someone else needs and then clocking out. It's like the best. So when I told them, I was like, no, this needs to be someone who's like as skilled as me. Like you could also hire this person to do this job. You just happen to hire me, but my assistants are good enough that you could hire them to do this job too. Like I know, I feel like assistants, people think of like college students or like internships and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I probably wouldn't bring a college student on a job with me right now. Like, no, I wouldn't do that. Like maybe if there was some like project that was not paid and it was a passion project and I was like, oh yeah, I'm giving someone the opportunity to come assist maybe as a learning experience, but like I really don't see it as like almost like an internship position. I see my assistants as like people who have the same like level of knowledge, skills, abilities as I do. They just happen to not be the photographer that day. Because I'm always like, hey, this is my assistant. They're a very skilled photographer. Like you should also look at their work. Yeah. And like all my assistants are also all very skilled people who have their own businesses and like who have their own studios. And it's like my assistants. You're asking me if it needs to be it needs to be a very skilled person.
Or you end up teaching the whole day and telling them what to do, not like they don't just know what to do.
I did a photo shoot once where I had a friend assist, and I was like, dude, what? Like, I don't have to tell you anything. You just know. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, it made me want to shoot more because I was like, I can trust somebody to like just show up and do the thing. Yeah. I was shooting with 2 different cameras, and I'm like, all right, well, I just finished this roll, and I'd hand it to them and they'd get it all loaded up for the next roll. And then I would shoot with a different camera and they would move the lights and they'd anticipate, based on where I'm like shooting. I was like, dude, how do you like, can we like work together more?
Yeah. It makes me want to be like, hi, I need an assist for every job I'm ever on. It's part of my budget. Like I need one. And I advocate for an assist almost every time that I'm on a bigger production or something for a client. I'm like, an assist is part of my fees. You need to pay it. It's like a requirement for me to do my job well into the quality that I want to give you, because they need attention. Like during the shoot, they need to be able to like look at the shot with you and like tell you what you need. But I need to be able to like be building the next set to like keep everything going at the same time. So yeah, my assists are like, they make my job so easy, so easy.
It makes it's nice to have that.
I'm like, oh, I'm thinking this and this and this. I'm like, what do you think? And they're like, no, it's whatever you think. And I'm like, no, I need to bounce ideas. I'm like, do you think? Because it's like, here's what we have. Here's the equipment we have. Here's how I'm thinking we use those pieces. What do you think? And they're like, yeah, it's a good idea, but what about using this here? And I was like, that's an even better idea. Thank God I ran it by you. And it's like, like I trust my assistants and they make my job easy and fun and it makes me look good. Like, there's no downsides. No downsides. Unless they're not a good assist and they make your life harder and they make you look bad. And then it wouldn't be good. But I haven't experienced that yet. Only because I haven't taken chances on assists yet. I've only hired people who I have either known a while or worked with in some, because and I had never assisted each other before that moment, but I had, gone to shoots with him enough or seen his work enough, or, we'd been friends long enough where I was like, yeah, I think this is going to work. And then it was awesome. And I was like, yeah, I'll hire you again.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference, especially if you have somebody who's like A-type personality. Like, oh no, let me show you. No, you're the assist. You're not the first. So,
when I was the second assist, I was like, I have no suggestions. Just tell me tell me where you want things to go, and I will build it. It's like you do all of the little tweaking, like I'll just be stand-in for the light test. Like that was me. Like you guys are like, what should we do to make this shadow? And I'm just standing there on the white paper. Like this is my job right now.
That's awesome.
Very nice. Dan's my assistant.
Yeah.
Unwillingly.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say no willingly. But you sighed.
Yeah, it's true. No. Stacey's got all sorts of projects. So I show up.
You just show up.
It's my job.
A good assist is invaluable. So
true. Very true. Well, it's been great getting to know you.
Yeah.
Like a little bit more. We've only got to like superficially know you. So
Yeah.
it was nice. Yeah. How would people find you if they're looking for you?
Oh my gosh, a plug. So my name is Rachel Eblin. I don't think I said my last name at the beginning.
It's all good. Nobody does.
Great. Perfect. Rachel Eblin. My business currently is called RKE Artistry, which is my initials, Rachel K. Eblin. So on Instagram and online, my Instagram handle is just RKE Artistry. And the same thing for my website is rkeartistry.com, and my Gmail, rkeartistry@gmail.com. It's all the same.
Love it.
Yeah.
So simple.
It's always good to have it all the same. Some people don't.
Yeah, people are like, Arky? And I'm like, I know it's not intuitive, but it's my initials. And that's what it is for now until I find something better. But yeah, that's
It works.
across everything. Yeah.
Makes it simple.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me on. This is
Yeah.
really fun, and it's been nice sitting down with you guys.
Yeah. Appreciate you chatting, allowing our guests to get to know you a little bit better.
Yay. And then we also want to throw out we're adding it to the end of our podcast now. Listeners that have additional questions that they want answered. Sometimes we get them ahead of time. Haven't been doing that for guests, but if you have something you want to specifically reach out about, Rachel's podcast, let us know. We'll shout you out. And then also, we just want to hear from listeners more. So contact us through our Instagram or through, what's our email? Through info? Is it just info?
It's just phxfilmrevival@gmail.com.
Oh, there you go. Easy peasy. So we've had more people reaching out, and we had
we had Brad Armstrong. He's part of Arizona Photography Alliance. Wanted to give him a little shout out. He sent us a really nice email, and he's a listener of the podcast. He attended one of our events recently and was very glad that we were putting the event on and connecting the community. It was like we had mentioned about people, older gentlemen, not quite connected with social media as much, was able to participate and see the younger crowd and
took some nice photos and everything, sent them to us. So it's nice. I was like, oh my gosh, people are listening.
Yeah, we've got listeners.
Yeah. So reach out if you listen to us, please. We'd love to hear feedback, comments, things like that. I mean, we're going to do anyway. I'm poorly at that, but
getting better.
We're trying our best. But we'd love to hear from you guys. So if you have any comments or suggestions or anything, please reach out. Don't be afraid.
But yeah, thanks again, Rachel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really appreciate you coming on. And if anybody ever needs a photographer who knows what they're doing, have a creative project.
At a minimum.
Yeah, at a minimum. Definitely reach out to Rachel. I'm sure her work is going to be amazing for whatever she does for you. But thank you again for coming on. And look forward to chatting with you